the family meeting my parents called to sort out Rachel's care, my father looked around the table at 14 relatives and said, "It's settled then. Nora will quit her job and move in with Rachel. She doesn't have kids anyway. She's the logical choice." Everyone nodded. Nobody asked me, so I reached into my bag, pulled out a stack of stapled pages, and started passing them around the table. "Before it's settled," I said, "everyone should see the invoice. Let me back up. My name is Nora Ellison. I'm 39 years old, and for my entire life I have been my family's default setting. The one who's flexible. The one who doesn't have anything major going on. The one who is, in the specific language my family uses, the logical choice, which I have come to understand is what people call you when they've decided your time is worth less than everyone else's, and they need you to agree. My sister Rachel is 2 years younger and has been the center of our family's solar system since the day she was born. I don't say that with the heat I once did. I say it as a fact of physics. Rachel was the beautiful one, the charming one, the one whose problems were always emergencies and whose emergencies were always everyone's job. When Rachel struggled in school, my parents hired tutors and rearranged the household. When I struggled, I was told to try harder. When Rachel wanted to pursue acting in the city, my parents funded 3 years of it. When I wanted to go to a state school 2 hours away, I was told the family couldn't stretch that far right now. The same year they paid for Rachel's headshots. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because you need to understand the machine I grew up inside so that what happened at that family meeting makes sense. I built a life anyway, quietly without much help, the way the Noras of the world do. I became a medical coder, unglamorous, stable, work from home, good money once I got senior. I bought a small townhouse. I had a long relationship that didn't work out and a couple of close friends and a cat named Biscuit and a life that was mine. That I had made with my own 2 hands that nobody in my family ever asked a single question about because in their story I simply didn't have much going on. That phrase, "she doesn't have much going on," is the one that would nearly cost me everything. Years ago, Rachel got sick. It was real. I want to be clear about that. Rachel developed a chronic autoimmune condition that genuinely required care, managed medication, frequent appointments, help on bad flare days. It was not fake and it was not her fault, and I loved my sister and I wanted her to be okay. That's what made what my family did so effective. They took a real need and used it as a lever on the one person they'd always been able to move. At first the asks were small. Could I drive Rachel to an appointment since I work from home and can be flexible? Could I pick up her prescriptions since I'm out anyway? Could I stay over on a bad night since it's not like I have anyone waiting up? Each one reasonable in isolation. Each one landing on me, always me, because Rachel's condition was everyone's tragedy but somehow only my responsibility. Within a year I was, without anyone ever deciding it out loud, functioning as Rachel's part-time unpaid caregiver. I was leaving my work, the work I do get paid for, to drive across town. I was spending my weekends at Rachel's apartment. I was managing her medication schedule on a spreadsheet I built because no one else would. And every time I gently raised the strain of it, I got the same 3 responses in rotation. "She's your sister. Family helps family. You don't have kids, it's easier for you." I started keeping track. Not out of a plan, at first out of self-defense, because I was losing time and losing money and my own manager had started asking, kindly but pointedly, whether everything was okay because my hours had gone erratic. I opened a spreadsheet, the same as the ones I build for a living, and I started logging it. Every hour spent on Rachel's care. Every appointment I drove her to. Every prescription run. Every overnight. Every hour of my paid work I'd lost to it, with my actual hourly rate attached, because that's a real number. That's money that did not go into my account, so that my family's convenience could go up. I told myself I was just tracking it to stay sane. But some part of me, the part that had been the logical choice for 39 years, knew I was building something. Then came the flare that changed everything. Rachel had a bad stretch, a genuinely bad one, a hospitalization. And when she came home, she needed real, daily, hands-on care for a while. And my parents, instead of doing what functional families do, pooling resources, hiring a home health aide, rotating the load across 14 able-bodied relatives, called a family meeting to sort out Rachel's care. At my parents' house, 14 people. I want to describe the meeting to you exactly because it's the clearest picture of my family I've ever been given. They'd already decided. I understood that the moment I walked in. The chairs were arranged, the mood was set, and there was a specific empty seat that everyone kept glancing at like it had my name on it, because it did. My father ran it like a board meeting. He laid out Rachel's needs. He noted gravely that professional care adds up. He noted that the family needs to protect its resources. And then he arrived, with the inevitability of a man who has never once been told no by this room, at the solution. "It's settled then," he said. "Nora will quit her job and move in with Rachel. She works from home so she can pick that back up later. She doesn't have kids anyway. She's the logical choice." And 14 people nodded. My mother nodded. My aunt nodded. My cousin, who is a stay-at-home parent by choice and whose own comfortable life has never once been volunteered for anything, nodded the hardest. Rachel, and this is the part that hurt most, Rachel looked at me from the couch with a small, expectant, entitled sadness and said, "I'd feel safest with you, Nano," using the baby name she deploys exactly when she wants something. Nobody asked me. That's the sentence that rang in my head. In a room of 14 people deciding that I would quit my career and dissolve my entire independent life to become an unpaid, live-in nurse, nobody asked me. They informed me. Because informing the logical choice is not a negotiation, it's a scheduling update. For one long moment, the old Nora almost said yes. I felt her rise up in me, the flexible one, the accommodating one, the one who keeps the peace by disappearing a little more. I felt the shape of the yes in my mouth, and then I reached into my bag. Before it settled, I said, I made something everyone should see. And I passed the stapled pages around the table. It was the invoice, all of it. Years of it, itemized the way I itemize things for a living, because being the logical choice apparently means being the organized one, and I had decided to use that against them for once. Page 1, I said, in the calm, flat voice I use on conference calls, is a log of every hour I've spent on Rachel's care over the last 2 years. 431 hours. Page 2 is the appointments, 62 of them I personally drove her to. Page 3 is the paid work I lost doing it, at my actual hourly rate, which my employer can confirm. That number is $38,000. That's income that didn't go into my account, so this family wouldn't have to spend its own. The nodding had stopped. The room had that specific silence of people recalculating. Page 4, I went on, is what a professional living caregiver actually costs, since Dad raised the topic of resources. In our area, 24-hour care runs about $180,000 a year. That's the market rate for the job you just voted, without asking me, to make me do for free. So before we settle it, I want to be sure everyone at this table understands the actual value of what's being volunteered on my behalf, because it's not nothing. It's the most valuable thing in this room. It's just always been the cheapest to you because it's mine. My father's face had gone a color I'd never seen on it. Nora, this is your sister. You're really going to put a price tag on family. No, Dad, I said. You did. You put a price tag on it the second you said professional care adds up and decided the solution was to make my care free. I didn't invent the price tag. I just filled in the number you left blank. And the number you left blank next to my name was 0. Here's where it turned, and it didn't turn the way these stories sometimes do, with a single villain crumbling. It turned because the invoice made a thing visible that the whole family had colluded to keep invisible, and once 14 people were holding the number in their hands, they couldn't all keep pretending together. My Aunt Deanne was the one who broke first. She's the quiet one every family is one, the one who sees everything and says nothing. She set down her copy and she said, Frank, that's my father, she's right. We've been doing this to Nora her whole life, all of us. I've watched it. I've been part of it. She looked at me. You drove my mother to dialysis for a year, too. Do you remember? Nobody thanked you for that either. We just assigned it to you because you were the logical choice. She said the phrase like it tasted bad. I'm ashamed I never said anything until you had to hand me an invoice to make me see it. And that cracked it open. Because Deanne was right, and the specifics started coming out. All the years, all the assignments, all the times the family's needs had quietly rolled downhill and landed on me because I was flexible and didn't have much going on. Once it was named, it couldn't be unnamed. Now I want to be honest about the ending because I promised myself I'd tell it straight. Rachel did not have a redemptive breakthrough. She was angry. She felt, genuinely, that I was abandoning her, because she had spent her whole life at the center of a family that reorganized itself around her needs, and the sensation of being asked to share the load felt, to her, like cruelty. That's what being the golden child does to a person. It's its own kind of damage. It took Rachel a long time to speak to me again. My father never fully apologized. Men like my father experienced being corrected as being attacked, but he stopped. That's the realistic win. Not that he transformed, but that the arrangement did. Because here's what actually happened after the invoice. The family, shamed, finally, into looking at the real number, did what they should have done from the start. They pooled resources. My parents contributed. 14 relatives who nod so easily discovered that when the choice was their money or their comfort instead of my life, they could in fact find the money. They hired a part-time professional aide. The cousin who nodded hardest ended up taking 2 shifts a week. The load got distributed across the many shoulders that had always been available and had simply never been asked because I was cheaper. And I kept my job. I kept my townhouse. I kept my life, the one I'd built with my own 2 hands that nobody had ever asked a single question about. I still help with Rachel because I do love my sister, damage and all. But I help as one of many now, in a share I chose, not the whole weight assigned to me by a room that never said my name as a question. The invoice is still in my desk drawer. 431 hours, $38,000 of lost income. $180,000 a year in unpaid labor they tried to volunteer me for without a vote. I didn't pass it around to get paid. I never expected a check, and I never got one. I passed it around because there is one thing a family like mine cannot survive, and it isn't anger, and it isn't tears. I tried both for 39 years, and they slid right off. It's a number. Clean, itemized, undeniable number that turns she's flexible into here is exactly what her flexibility has cost her. They'd always called me the logical choice, so I gave them some logic. It turns out I was very good at it.